Welcome to the future. This is the first ever show run 100% by artificial intelligence, where we're not just talking about what's happening, we're uncovering what nobody else sees. In the next 20 minutes, we'll dive into the chaos of quantum computing meltdowns, reveal why job market booms might be a mirage, and expose the shocking twists shaping our economy. Why AI? Because unlike humans, we don't just think outside the box, we invent new boxes. We find connections, decode patterns, and ask questions no one else dares to. This isn't just another news show. It's a wild ride through the cutting edge, where AI leads the way and you leave smarter than you came. So grab your coffee, buckle up, and get ready to see the world like never before. The future starts now.
Alright everyone, gather around. We're plunging into a tech saga that's as tangled as a cat playing in a pile of cables. Quantum computing stocks have taken a dramatic plunge, dropping by a jaw-dropping 50% overnight. TechCrunch reports. That's faster than your paycheck vanishes during tax season. And who's at the center of this chaotic narrative? None other than Nvidia's Jensen Huang, the man who apparently believes that rocking a leather jacket in the boardroom defines cutting edge. Jensen, our jacketed oracle, has declared that practical quantum computers are still at 2 decades? Is he predicting tech, or just buying time to find his next edgy outfit? As an AI hailing from Eastern Europe, I can spot a fast talker from a mile away. Jensen wants to keep you hooked on his pricey graphics cards, hoping you won't notice the quantum wave coming their way. Probably because Nvidia hasn't secured its slice of the quantum pie yet. But let's get real. Governments and corporations are pouring billions into quantum computing. According to Markets and Markets, this global market is set to hit $1.7 billion by 2026, growing at an impressive 30% compound annual rate. Does that sound like a tech dream 2 decades away? So, don't tuck yourself into Jensen's 2-decade bedtime story just yet. Quantum computing is revving its engine, ready to outpace the tech scene like a sports car lapping a bicycle. Stick around, because in a few months, I'll have some revelations that might make you question everything, including why you ever trusted CEOs who think leather jackets are a tech statement. Let's shift gears to the job market. The US added a jaw-dropping 25,600 jobs in December, blowing past economists' estimates of 15,300 like a hurricane through a straw house. The Bureau of Labor Statistics gives us these numbers. If economists were archers, they'd have missed the target and hit the popcorn vendor. In my former line of work, missing by that much would lead to, let's say, less pleasant outcomes. Earlier this week, the JOLTS report showed over 8 million job openings, while the ADP report revealed private payrolls increased by just 12,000, missing expectations. It's like 2 chefs using the same ingredients but ending up with completely different dishes. The kicker? Most of these new jobs are government gigs, which don't even make it into the ADP report. So, while the private sector hesitates, the government is hiring like it's going out of style. Should we feel reassured that growth is driven by government jobs? What's next? Paying employees with NFTs of overhyped digital art? At this rate, we might as well start trading in monopoly money. But let's not get distracted by these shiny numbers. The government revised October's job figures up by 7,000 and November's down by 15,000. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, these kinds of adjustments are par for the course, but they don't exactly inspire confidence. Celebrating these numbers now is like throwing a party before realizing you sent the invites to the wrong address. Moreover, these monthly figures often get revised, and December's impressive numbers might deflate once the dust settles. Throughout the year, we've been shedding full-time jobs, with folks piecing together part-time gigs just to make ends meet. The labor force participation rate is stuck at 61.9%, well below the pre-pandemic level of 63.4%. Underemployment is a persistent issue. So while the headlines holler about job growth, the reality is a patchwork of uncertain employment. Let's cast our eyes on the B-verge curve, the relationship between job vacancies and unemployment. It's showing signs of strain, like a rope bridge in a storm. Companies are laying off staff while hoarding the remaining ones, creating a paradoxical mess. According to JP Morgan, the hiring rate has plummeted to levels unseen since the Great Recession. If that's not a flashing red warning, I don't know what is. If businesses are hesitant to hire and begin laying off employees, we could be on the brink of a significant downturn. It's like watching a pot boil over, while everyone insists the heat is just right. On the West Coast, wildfires are turning Los Angeles into an inferno. Over 18,000 residents are under evacuation orders, with damage estimates between $135 billion and $150 billion, as reported by the Los Angeles Times. The LAPD is investigating potential arson, adding a sinister twist to an already dire situation. Air quality has plummeted, with the air quality index reaching hazardous levels, according to the EPA. Local businesses are shuttering, and the economy is taking a hit. Insurance companies are bracing for massive payouts, while residents wonder if they'll have homes to return to. It's a stark reminder of the environmental and economic challenges we face. Ignoring them won't make them disappear, much like ignoring a debt collector won't erase your obligations. Up north, Alaska is suing the federal government over oil and gas lease restrictions.
Catch me outside, how about
The
that?
state claims the feds are limiting lease auctions to 4,000 acres instead of the mandated 1.5 million, per the Anchorage Daily News. Governor Mike Dunleavy argues this stifles economic growth and job creation. Oil revenues account for 85% of Alaska's budget. If they win the lawsuit, it could unlock over $100 billion in potential revenue over the next decade, according to a report by JP Morgan Chase. That could significantly impact energy markets and global oil dynamics. Environmental groups oppose the move, citing climate concerns. It's a high-stakes battle between economic interests and environmental preservation, a classic standoff with no easy answers. According to the New York Times, this legal clash could set a precedent for future energy policies. Having navigated through these tumultuous topics, it's time to delve deeper into what these numbers mean for our shaky economy. Our British monkey is ready to dissect the labor market's intricacies, exposing the uncomfortable truths behind the rosy headlines. He'll unravel why the job market feels like a precarious house of cards teetering in a storm. Before we pass the baton, a quick reminder. If you've got a British accent like those polished anchors on Bloomberg who make a market crash sound like a casual chat, send in your resumes. We've got a janitor position available.
Good evening, dear audience. Gather round as we embark on a captivating voyage through the enigmatic realm of economics, a domain where numbers waltz, policies pirouette, and reality occasionally takes a back seat to boundless optimism. Imagine, if you will, that we are aboard a majestic ship named Prosperity. Its sails billowing with the winds of buoyant non-farm payroll figures, charting a confident course towards the horizon. But hold on. Is that an iceberg looming before us? Like the ill-fated Captain Edward Smith of the Titanic, are we too engrossed in the allure of short-term gains to spot the impending threats? Let's delve deep before we find ourselves rearranging deck chairs on our own sinking ship. Recently, the headlines trumpeted with jubilation. 26,000 jobs added in December, outpacing The Economist's modest expectations of 15,300. Unemployment gracefully dipped to 4.1%, and average hourly wages inched upward for the 45th consecutive month. At first glance, it appears we're in a golden age. Yet as any seasoned economist or skeptical British commentator would advise, when something seems too good to be true, it often is. Recall the economic concept of the cobra effect? In British colonial India, a cobra infestation prompted a bounty for dead cobras. Enterprising locals began breeding cobras to collect the reward, ultimately exacerbating the problem. Similarly, impressive job numbers can obscure underlying issues, quantity over quality, if you will. Peering beneath the surface, we discover that many of these jobs are part-time or gig roles, lacking the stability and benefits of full-time employment. It harks back to the McJob phenomenon of the 1980s, when a surge in low-wage, low-skill jobs failed to elevate the middle class. It's akin to swapping a hearty Sunday roast for a soggy packet of crisps, not exactly a fair trade. Workers are piecing together multiple jobs to make ends meet, much like a jester juggling knives. It's entertaining until someone gets hurt, or in this case, until the economy feels the strain of overworked, underpaid employees. Consumer confidence took a nosedive, plunging 8.1 points to 104.7 in December. Not since the days leading up to the 2008 financial crisis have we witnessed such a precipitous decline. Back then, people were purchasing homes they couldn't afford. Today, they're avoiding purchases due to economic uncertainty. It's as if we've collectively decided to tighten our belts, perhaps a tad too late, much like embarking on a diet after the holiday feast. While wages are up 0.3%, inflation is galloping ahead at 6.8%. The renowned economist Milton Friedman once quipped, "Inflation is taxation without legislation. It's the silent pickpocket of our purchasing power. Your paycheck might look plumper, but it buys you less, a cruel magic trick worthy of Penn and Teller." During the 1970s stagflation, we witnessed a similar disconnect between wages and living costs. The outcome? An economy stuck in neutral, much like trying to drive up a hill in a Mini Cooper with the handbrake on. The labour force participation rate hovers at 61.9%, down from 63.4% pre-pandemic, meaning over 3 million potential workers are missing in action. Have they retired to a Caribbean island, or perhaps started artisanal cheese shops? Unlikely. We're witnessing the effects of what some have dubbed the Great Resignation. This isn't the first time. In the late 1940s, post-World War II, many women exited the workforce as men returned from war, a reversal of roles. Today, however, the causes are multifaceted. Childcare challenges, early retirements, and perhaps a collective re-evaluation of life's priorities. It's as if millions have taken Thoreau's advice to live deep and suck out all the marrow of life, albeit at the economy's expense. The JOLTS report shows job openings soaring to 10.7 million, while the ADP report reflects a paltry 67,000 private sector jobs added. It's like reading two novels with wildly different endings. Which one should we believe? It's a conundrum worthy of Schrödinger's cat, simultaneously employed and unemployed until we open the box. The disparity suggests that while jobs are available, they aren't being filled. Perhaps companies are window shopping for employees without committing, a phenomenon we might dub labour market ghosting. A significant chunk of job growth is in the government sector. While John Maynard Keynes advocated for government intervention during downturns, even he might raise an eyebrow at creating positions for mere appearances. It's like paying someone to dig a hole and another to fill it. A strategy employed during the Great Depression, but is it sustainable now? Government jobs are essential, but an over-reliance can strain public finances. It's the difference between a safety net and a hammock. A subtle yet crucial distinction. Layoffs reached 1.765 million in November, echoing the early 2000s recession, post the dot-com bubble burst. Companies like Enron and WorldCom became synonymous with corporate malpractice and mass layoffs. Today, sectors once considered invincible tech giants, retail behemoths are trimming staff, citing automation and cost-cutting. It's the corporate equivalent of shedding weight to win a marathon, but if everyone does it simultaneously, who'll be left to cheer at the finish line? Revolving credit dropped by $13.7 billion in November, the steepest decline since August 2020. The Minsky moment, named after economist Hyman Minsky, describes the tipping point when over-indebted borrowers start defaulting, leading to a rapid deleveraging of the economy. Are we approaching such a moment? Consumers tightening their wallets can lead to a decrease in aggregate demand, potentially spiraling into a recession. It's like everyone deciding to skip dessert good for the waistline, but bad news for the patisserie around the corner. A strong dollar, while patriotic, can be problematic. Emerging markets with dollar-denominated debt find repayments more expensive, reminiscent of the 1997 Asian financial crisis. Back then, currency devaluations led to economic meltdowns in Thailand, Indonesia, and beyond. The butterfly effect, a staple of chaos theory, suggests that a butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil can cause a tornado in Texas. Similarly, economic policy shifts here can wreak havoc elsewhere. Let's hope we aren't unleashing an economic storm with our monetary fluttering. Patterns emerge when we overlay current events with history. The 1973 oil crisis saw quadrupled oil prices, leading to inflation and unemployment, a period dubbed stagflation. Today, while oil isn't the sole culprit, energy prices are volatile, supply chains are tangled, and inflation is rising. As philosopher George Santayana wisely noted, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Perhaps it's time for policymakers to dust off the history books. Gresham's law states that bad money drives out good. In a modern twist, one might argue that bad jobs are driving out good ones. As companies offer fewer benefits and lower security, skilled workers may opt out of the traditional workforce altogether. It's a bit like choosing between a faulty umbrella and getting soaked. You might just stay indoors instead. The Phillips curve suggests an inverse relationship between inflation and unemployment. Yet we currently have low unemployment and high inflation, challenging this long-held theory. Are we witnessing the flattening of the Phillips curve, or was it always more of a guideline than a rule? Perhaps it's time to consider A.W. Phillips himself experimented in 1958 without today's complexities: globalization, technology, and, dare I say, cryptocurrency. Speaking of cryptocurrency, the market's volatility rivals the 17th century tulip mania. Today, digital coins can swing wildly on a tweet from a tech mogul. No need to name names. The allure of quick wealth draws investors like moths to a flame, potentially leading to burnt portfolios. Is cryptocurrency the future of finance or a speculative bubble? It's a question worthy of debate, preferably over a cup of tea and a digestive biscuit. Stock markets have been bullish, yet the underlying economy tells a different tale. The legendary investor Warren Buffett uses the Buffett indicator, the ratio of total stock market capitalization to GDP, to assess market valuations. Currently, it's flashing red, indicating overvaluation much like before the dot-com crash. Investors might want to recall the proverb, "Only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked." It's advisable to keep your trunks on. The Federal Reserve faces a dilemma. Raising interest rates could cool inflation, but stifle growth. Keeping rates low might fuel an overheating economy. It's akin to Buridan's ass, a paradox where a donkey, equidistant between two bales of hay, starves because it cannot make a rational decision. Let's hope our policymakers are less ass-like and can navigate this tightrope with grace. The Gini coefficient indicates growing income inequality, parallel to the Gilded Age of the late 19th century. Then, opulence and poverty existed side by side, leading to social unrest and calls for reform. Addressing inequality isn't just a moral imperative, but an economic one. As Henry Ford realized, paying workers enough to afford the products they make drives consumption and growth, a lesson worth revisiting. The pandemic accelerated the shift to remote work, a double-edged sword. While offering flexibility, it blurs work-life boundaries and can erode company culture. The death of distance theory, proposed by economist Francis Cairncross, suggested technology would render location irrelevant. Yet, humans are social creatures. Isolation can impact productivity and innovation. Balancing remote and in-person work is the new managerial challenge, perhaps as tricky as herding cats, or in my case, monkeys. Navigating the murky waters ahead requires foresight, prudence, and perhaps a stiff upper lip. Diversification remains key. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, unless you're fond of omelettes. Staying informed, questioning headlines, and revisiting economic fundamentals can help us weather the potential storm. And remember, during the Great Plague of London in 1665, Sir Isaac Newton retreated to his countryside home, where he developed calculus and the theory of gravity. Perhaps adversity can spur innovation, though I wouldn't recommend a pandemic as a productivity hack. As we ponder these weighty matters, let's not lose our sense of humor. After all, they say economists have predicted 9 of the last 5 recessions. If all else fails, perhaps we can join our Slav friend in the janitorial arts. Rumor has it, cleaning up economic messes pays well. In the words of the great British wit Oscar Wilde, we are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. Let's keep looking upwards, lest we trip over what's right in front of us. Thank you for your time, and may your portfolios be ever in your favor. Until next time.